This is how Greek mythology first lived. Tales passed softly from one generation to the next, helping people explain their world, teaching wisdom through story, and uncovering truths about what it means to live as a human. These weren't just fireside amusements. They became threads woven into the very fabric of culture, shaping how people understood life itself. In these myths, the gods ruled from lofty Mount Olympus, heroes set off on impossible quests, and everyday mortals faced challenges beyond imagination. The Greeks turned to these stories for answers to explain a thunderstorm hurled by Zeus, or the change of seasons told through Persephone's descent to the underworld. Yet more than explanations, mythology gave guidance, lessons in love, bravery, wisdom, and destiny, helping people make sense not just of nature but of themselves. Even now, these old myths quietly echo around us. When someone mentions an Achilles' heel or calls a task Herculean, we're still speaking the language of ancient stories, often without realizing it. Mythology lingers in our words, our literature, psychology, and pop culture, shaping how we think and share ideas. In this video, we'll journey into the captivating world of Greek mythology, from the creation of the cosmos, through the feats of gods and legendary heroes, to the dramatic fates of mortals who dared to defy destiny. You'll meet Zeus, ruler of the skies, Athena, bringer of wisdom, Poseidon, master of the seas, and heroes like strong Hercules, clever Odysseus, and bold Achilles. Together, we'll uncover epic quests, heartbreaking romances, daring adventures, and quiet truths that continue to echo through time. As always, no need to fix your eyes on the screen. Think of this as a fireside tale, perfect for unwinding, relaxing, or letting your imagination drift freely. Whether you're ending your day working on something or just curious about these ancient legends, settle in, get comfortable, maybe grab a snack, and let the stories unfold. So gather close, in spirit, around the fire. Together, we'll step into an ancient world filled with wonder, adventure, and timeless wisdom. By the end, you'll have traveled through the arc of Greek mythology itself and see why these tales still quietly speak to us thousands of years after they were first told. Let's begin. Long before the first sunrise touched the horizon, before the first wave kissed the shore, there was only chaos, but not the chaos of noise or destruction. No battles, no confusion, no disasters, just a vast emptiness, silent, endless, stretching into darkness. Picture yourself there, sitting at a quiet fire, as an elder begins the very first tale, voice steady, weaving together the origins of everything. From this endless void, something remarkable stirred. Out of the silence came the first great presence, Gaia, the Mother Earth. She was immense, vibrant, and alive in every sense, not just soil and stone beneath your feet, but the very spirit and body of the living world. As Gaia awoke, mountains lifted from her form, valleys stretched wide, and rolling plains unfolded. She became the foundation of all existence, patiently waiting for life to blossom. But Earth was not alone for long. From the depths beneath her, another force emerged from the shadows. Far below Gaia's surface, deeper than the deepest cave, arose Tartarus, a realm of darkness, hidden and remote, an abyss sealed off from the light of the world above. Even to the ancient Greeks, its depth was beyond imagination, its darkness complete. Tartarus was destined to become a prison for mighty beings, but in these earliest moments, it simply existed silent, hidden, waiting. Meanwhile, Gaia held within herself a powerful drive to shape and expand creation. From her own essence, she brought forth Uranus, the boundless sky, who stretched endlessly above her. Picture the very first heavens unfolding, vast, open, and filled with quiet grandeur. Uranus spread across Gaia like a great dome of infinite space, soon to be adorned with stars, the moon, and the lights we still see when we gaze upward. Earth and sky, Gaia and Uranus, existed together, forever joined, yet always apart partners at the dawn of existence. But Gaia's creative spirit had not yet rested. On her own, she gave life to another, Pontus the sea. Waters began to flow across her surface, spreading into vast oceans that mirrored both calm stillness and untamed power. These endless seas stretched outward, meeting the horizon beneath Uranus's endless canopy. Pontus embodied the mystery and might of the waters, ensuring that the world would not be land alone, but balanced by the strength and wonder of the deep. Let's pause a moment to imagine these primal beings, as the Greeks themselves might have. Gaia, the patient earth beneath your feet. Uranus, the sky arching above without end. Pontus, the ceaseless seas surrounding all. And Tartarus, the hidden abyss, unfathomable in its depths. These were not yet the gods of Olympus, who walked among mortals or intervened in daily life. Instead, they were the first great forces of reality itself, shaping existence in silence. Gaia, Uranus, Pontus, and Tartarus were the earliest powers of creation, each ruling their own domain. Gaia was stability, the fertile foundation for life. Uranus was the endless expanse, keeper of stars and celestial wonders. Pontus was the ocean's breadth, deep, sustaining, and unknowable. And Tartarus was the darkness below, the hidden depths holding secrets beyond reach. Together, they formed the first balance of the universe long before humankind ever walked the earth. Each one carried authority over a realm of existence, drawing order out of the formless void. Listening by our imagined fire, we can feel why these stories inspired both comfort and awe. This was how the Greeks understood beginnings: the ground beneath, the sky above, the sea that surrounded them, and the unseen darkness below. With these first beings established, the story would soon unfold into generations of gods, struggles, and heroes. But for now, our focus rests on this first act of creation, Gaia, rising from chaos, shaping Uranus, Pontus, and Tartarus, and setting the stage for all that followed. These primordial beings were not worshipped like later gods, but rather recognized as distant, powerful presences, respected, feared, and revered, yet rarely close. They were the essential elements of reality itself, providing the framework for every story to come. They existed before mortals, before Olympians, and their influence runs quietly beneath all myths that followed, forming the unseen foundation of the cosmos. And so, gathered around this ancient fire, beneath a sky now filled with stars, we sit and wonder, picturing these primal beings, imagining how it must have felt to witness the first unfolding of creation. This is only the beginning. Many more stories await, but the tale of how the world emerged from silence and chaos remains one of the most powerful and timeless myths ever told. Long after the first beings emerged from chaos, Gaia, the earth, Uranus, the sky, Pontus, the sea, and Tartarus, the abyss, a new generation of mighty figures came forth. These were the Titans, children of Gaia and Uranus, destined to shape the early order of the universe. From their union, 12 great Titans were born. Each possessed immense strength and influence, with roles tied to the foundations of existence. Oceanus, the eldest, embodied the vast encircling waters, whose countless rivers and currents sustained the world quietly and steadily. Hyperion, Titan of light, brought brilliance to creation: the blazing sun, the glowing moon, and the soft rise of dawn. Coeus, keeper of celestial knowledge, guarded the mysteries of the heavens, while his brother Creus oversaw the patterns and movements of the stars, bringing order to the skies. Iapetus symbolized the mortal condition, tied to struggle, endurance, and the trials of human life. And then there was Cronus, youngest of the Titans, strong in body and sharp in ambition. Alongside him stood Rhea, nurturing and powerful, the spirit of motherhood and fertility. Themis, tightness of law and order, whose wisdom shaped the idea of justice. Mnemosyne, guardian of memory, preserving stories and knowledge across time. Tethys, Oceanus's partner, nourished springs and rivers. Thea, bringer of brilliance, gave sparkle to precious metals and gems, filling the earth with beauty. And Phoebe, tightness of insight and prophecy, offered visions that guided gods and mortals alike. Yet among them all, it was Cronus, who carried a fate unlike any other. While the Titans ruled their realms in relative peace, Uranus looked upon his children with suspicion and fear. Each one was powerful, each brimming with potential, too much potential for the sky god's comfort. Driven by dread, Uranus imprisoned Gaia's other children, the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants of great skill, and the Hecatonkers, beings of immense size with 100 arms and 50 heads. He cast them deep into Tartarus, sealing them away in the darkness. Gaia, stricken with grief, felt the pain of her children buried beneath her very body. Her sorrow slowly hardened into resolve. Determined to end Uranus' cruelty, she forged a weapon, a curved sickle of adamant, unbreakable and sharp enough to wound even a god. She turned to her Titan sons, asking them to rise against their father. Yet one by one they refused, fearful of Uranus' might. Only Cronus stepped forward, bold enough to accept the task. Taking the sickle, Cronus lay in wait. When Uranus next descended to cover Gaia, Cronus struck from the shadows. With a single blow, he wounded his father, overthrowing Uranus and bringing his reign to an end. As he fell, Uranus pronounced a curse. One day, Cronus too would be betrayed by his own child. But in the moment of victory, Cronus ignored the prophecy. He claimed the throne of the cosmos, ushering in a new age. With his siblings beside him, Cronus presided over the Golden Age, a time of harmony, abundance, and ease. The earth yielded crops without toil, rivers flowed gently, and life flourished under steady order. Cronus wed his sister Rhea, whose nurturing presence balanced his ambition and unease. Together, they guided an era of peace, yet the curse of Uranus lingered in Cronus's thoughts. Haunted by the prophecy, he grew increasingly wary, fearing the very children he had yet to bring into the world. Each time Rhea bore a child, Cronus, consumed by fear of the prophecy, seized the newborn and swallowed it whole. He believed by keeping them locked within himself, no fate could touch him. Rhea, powerless to stop him, watched in anguish as one by one her children vanished. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon all swallowed, their futures stolen away. But when Rhea became pregnant again, she swore this child would not be lost. Nearing her time, she slipped away to the island of Crete, far from Cronus's sight. There, in a hidden cave, tucked among rugged cliffs and shaded forests, she gave birth to a son, Zeus. To shield him, Rhea devised a clever trick. She wrapped a heavy stone in swaddling cloth and presented it to Cronus as if it were the newborn. Blinded by suspicion, Cronus swallowed the stone without question, convinced he had once again secured his reign against fate. Meanwhile, Zeus remained hidden on Crete's slopes, raised in a cave high among rocky peaks and dense woods. There the goat Amalthea nourished him, her milk giving him strength and vigor. Her gift became legendary, so much so that her broken horn was remembered as the cornucopia, a lasting symbol of abundance and prosperity. But Amalthea was not his only protector. To keep Cronus from hearing the child's cries, warriors known as the Curetes took on a sacred duty. Whenever Zeus wept, they clashed their weapons, banging bronze against bronze in a thunderous display. To outsiders, it seemed a fierce drill or war dance, but in truth, each clash of metal masked the baby's voice, keeping him safe from Cronus's paranoia. Under this careful guard, Zeus flourished. The helpless infant grew into a strong youth, hardened by the rugged mountains of Crete. He trained his body daily, scaling cliffs, running through forests, and learning from nature itself the path of storms, the force of winds, the subtle signs in the sky. Even in youth, he showed a natural command over the elements, as if born to rule the heavens. When Zeus reached manhood, he knew his siblings remained trapped within Cronus. To free them, he needed more than strength. Cronus was cunning, vigilant, and powerful. Zeus sought guidance from Metis, the Titaness famed for wisdom and strategy. Clever and resourceful, Metis saw in Zeus the leader destined to bring change. She joined him, helping to craft a plan that would rescue his siblings and end Cronus's rule. Metis, skilled in herbs and potions, prepared a powerful elixir. Its magic would force Cronus to release what he had swallowed. With her aid, Zeus disguised himself as a humble cupbearer, appearing harmless and unworthy of suspicion. One evening, as Cronus reclined among his Titan kin, Zeus approached, offering a goblet filled with wine laced with Metis's potion. Unaware, Cronus drank deeply. Almost at once, pain surged through him, twisting his form in agony. One after another, the long-imprisoned gods were released. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, each fully grown, each powerful, and ready to stand beside their brother. United, at last, they swore an oath to bring down Cronus and restore balance to creation. Thus began the Titanomachy, the great war between the old Titans and the new Olympian gods. For 10 long years the battle raged, shaking mountains, flattening forests, and reshaping the very earth. Blow after blow, the struggle dragged on, neither side gaining the upper hand. The Titans and Olympians clashed without rest, unleashing power so immense the very heavens shook. Yet even Zeus saw that brute force alone would not secure victory. He needed greater allies. He remembered Gaia's imprisoned children, the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires, still trapped in Tartarus. With courage, Zeus descended into that dreaded abyss, a place shunned even by gods. There, in the shadows, he found and released the Cyclopes and the 100-handed giants who, grateful for their freedom, pledged their loyalty and joined the war with unshakable resolve. To repay him, the Cyclopes, master forgers of legend, crafted gifts of immense power. For Zeus, they created thunderbolts, searing weapons of lightning capable of splitting earth and sky. To Poseidon, they gave a mighty trident that could command the seas and summon raging storms. To Hades, they bestowed a helm of invisibility, allowing him to move unseen and strike from the darkness. Armed with these divine weapons, the Olympians pressed forward, their strength surging, but it was the Hecatoncheires who proved decisive. With their 100 arms, they hurled massive stones and mountains, overwhelming the Titans who faltered under the barrage. The combined force of gods, Cyclopean weapons, and the 100-handed giants shattered the Titans' defense. One by one, Cronus and his followers were captured. At last, Zeus claimed victory. The defeated Titans were cast into Tartarus, bound within its depths and forever guarded by the vigilant Hecatoncheires. Their fall marked the end of the Titan Age, closing an era of chaos and beginning a new cosmic order. Freed from Cronus' shadow, Zeus and his siblings established their reign. Zeus ascended as king of the gods, ruling the heavens. Poseidon became lord of the seas, able to calm waters or rouse them into storms. Hades took dominion of the underworld, its quiet yet stern ruler, keeper of the departed. Hera, Zeus's sister and future queen, embodied loyalty, order, and marriage, guiding both gods and mortals. Demeter blessed the earth with fertile fields and abundant harvests, sustaining human life. Hestia, ever gentle, watched over hearth and home, symbol of warmth and unity. The fall of Cronus was more than a victory. It was a turning point in the cosmos. The Olympians reshaped the world, forging a new order that would endure for ages. Yet the Titans were not forgotten. Their stories lingered in myth, echoes of raw power and ambition, 25-0, reminders of an age before the Olympians. Even in defeat, their legacy endured, influencing both gods and mortals. Thus ended the reign of the Titans. With Zeus' rule began a new age, one that would shape history and the fate of the world. But the work of the Olympians was far from done. With the war finished, they now had to rebuild creation itself, bringing order to chaos. Together they chose Mount Olympus as their home. Its snow-capped summit pierced the skies, wrapped in mists, as though touching the heavens themselves. There, Zeus built a radiant palace of marble and gold, its halls filled with gardens of fragrant flowers. Thrones were placed around the hall, each uniquely fashioned for a god or goddess. Zeus' throne, tallest of all, stood above the rest, befitting his role as king of the gods and ruler of the sky. The Cyclopes, still grateful, forged for him his lightning bolts, symbols of justice and divine authority. Though wise and fair, Zeus could be impulsive, quick to anger like mortals themselves. Yet he became guardian of law, hospitality, and justice, virtues deeply treasured by the Greeks. Poseidon, his mighty brother, ruled the seas from a glittering palace of coral and gems, hidden deep beneath the waves near the fabled Atlantis. Sailors prayed to him before voyages, knowing his moods could change from calm to tempest. With his trident, he commanded storms, quakes, and the restless ocean. Hades, the third brother, ruled the underworld. Though feared by many as harsh, he was a just and steady ruler, overseeing the souls of the dead with fairness. Guarded by Cerberus, his loyal three-headed hound, the gates of the underworld opened into shadowy rivers and caverns, lit only by a faint, ghostly glow. With his helm of invisibility, Hades moved quietly between mortal and divine realms, carrying out his role unseen. With sky, sea, and underworld divided among the three brothers, the other Olympians rose to fulfill their own vital duties. Hera, sister and queen of Zeus, became protector of marriage, loyalty, and family life. Seated beside Zeus, she kept a sharp watch over mortals, guarding unions and kinship with fierce devotion. Yet beneath her regal presence, Hera wrestled with jealousy, often stirred by Zeus's many affairs conflicts that fueled endless strife among the gods. Demeter, gentle and nurturing, oversaw the growth of crops and the fertility of the earth. She brought the rhythm of the seasons, ensuring humanity's survival. People honored her through great festivals like the Eleusinian Mysteries, celebrations of life, death, and rebirth. Hestia, humble and steady, became guardian of the hearth, the flame that bound families and communities together. Apollo, radiant and gifted, shone as god of the sun, music, healing, and prophecy. Each morning he guided his golden chariot, 29-2, across the heavens, bathing the world in light and warmth. His music, played upon a golden lyre, entranced all who listened. Pilgrims journeyed from far and wide to his oracle at Delphi to seek wisdom and guidance. His twin sister, Artemis, ruled the night sky with the moon and roamed the wilderness as goddess of the hunt. Fiercely independent, she wandered forests and mountains with her deer and companions of the wild. She safeguarded nature and women, aiding in childbirth while punishing those who disrespected her. Artemis's silver bow embodied both her purity and her strength. From the sea's foam near Cyprus arose Aphrodite, radiant goddess of love and beauty. Wherever she walked, passion and desire followed, captivating gods and mortals alike. She was wed to Hephaestus, the quiet and skillful smith, whose hands forged wonders for both gods and heroes. Her secret romances often stirred trouble, especially her hidden affair with Ares, the fierce god of war. Hephaestus, her husband, though born with a limp and often dismissed by others, rose to become Olympus's master craftsman. In his blazing forges beneath fiery mountains he shaped weapons, armor, jewelry, and ingenious tools with unmatched dedication. Quiet and modest, Hephaestus gained lasting respect for his peerless artistry. As each Olympian claimed their place, they began to influence every corner of human life, from farming and harvests to war, family, and love itself. Their vivid personalities and tangled bonds created endless tales, stories filled with triumphs and betrayals, laughter and grief. These myths, still told today, reflect the gods' very human virtues and flaws, teaching timeless lessons about love, loyalty, power, and morality. Through them, mortals found connection with the divine heights of Mount Olympus. Among the younger gods was Hermes, swift and clever, the messenger of Olympus. With winged sandals and a traveler's cloak, he darted easily between heaven, earth, and the underworld, carrying messages and guiding souls to their final rest. Hermes was famed for wit and charm, but also for mischief. As a newborn, he stole Apollo's cattle, yet smoothed over the quarrel by gifting Apollo a beautiful lyre he had crafted, winning friendship instead of wrath. Then came Ares, the god of battle's fury. Unlike Athena, who prized strategy and order, Ares embodied chaos, passion, and raw force. He represented the harsh truth of war, violent, unpredictable, and inescapable. The other Olympians often found him unbearable for his temper and love of bloodshed, but warriors on earth prayed to him for courage and victory, respecting his embodiment of war's relentless power. In sharp contrast stood Dionysus, the joyful yet unpredictable god of wine and ecstasy. He gave mortals a way to cast aside their burdens, even if only for a night. He traveled widely, teaching the art of viticulture, inspiring wild festivals filled with song, dance, and laughter. Yet Dionysus was more than a god of revelry. He also symbolized rebirth and transformation, for his followers believed losing themselves in celebration allowed them to touch the divine and discover deeper meaning. Together, these Olympians formed a divine family as diverse as human life itself, wise and foolish, noble and flawed. Their rivalries and passions mirrored those of mortals. Zeus, their king, held immense power but was far from perfect, his endless affairs sparking turmoil across Olympus. Hera, his queen, fiercely defended marriage and family, though her jealousy often brought conflict whenever Zeus strayed. Poseidon, god of the seas, was honored and feared alike. His temper is shifting and stormy as the waves he commanded. He could calm oceans one moment, then unleash devastating storms the next. Athena, wise daughter of Zeus, born from his own mind, guided heroes in war and taught humankind crafts and knowledge. Apollo, radiant god of music and prophecy, offered truth through his oracle at Delphi. Artemis, his twin, guarded forests, animals, and women, fiercely protecting those who honored the balance of nature. Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, often stirred trouble through her affairs, especially with Ares, while wed to Hephaestus, Olympus's quiet smith. Her tangled romances added endless drama to the lives of gods. Meanwhile, Hephaestus remained devoted to his craft, laboring tirelessly at his forge to create wonders both powerful and beautiful, proving his strength through skill, not force, despite his humble, unassuming nature. These gods soon became part of daily life for mortals, with entire cities choosing specific deities as their patrons. Athens honored Athena after she gifted them the olive tree, a symbol of wisdom and prosperity. Warriors prayed to Ares for strength in battle, while Corinth celebrated Aphrodite's beauty with vibrant festivals and rituals. Across the Greek world, people prayed, offered sacrifices, and sought favor from the gods in every aspect of their lives. Under Zeus's rule, justice and morality became guiding principles. Myths often carried lessons. Those who showed arrogance were punished, while the humble and respectful were rewarded. Apollo's defeat of the great serpent Python at Delphi reminded people that evil could be overcome, while the tales of Dionysus taught both the joy and the danger of surrendering to pleasure. Artemis, guardian of the wild, reminded mortals to respect nature's fragile balance. Yet even on Olympus, harmony was never absolute. Aphrodite's tangled romances created tension with Hephaestus, who felt shamed by her unfaithfulness. Hera's jealousy of Zeus's many loves often led to revenge and strife, shaking both Olympus and the mortal world below. Apollo and Artemis defended their mother, Leto, against Hera's wrath, fueling further disputes among the gods. Still, despite quarrels and rivalries, the Olympians knew they relied on one another. Their unity was the force that kept the world in balance. Zeus, though flawed, was largely respected as a wise and steady ruler. People honored him with festivals like the Olympic Games, while Demeter's influence was celebrated through the Eleusinian mysteries, sacred rituals that revealed the deeper cycles of life, death, and renewal. These traditions show how Olympus was never just a distant myth. It shaped the way Greeks saw themselves, their values, and their world. The gods reflected humanity's emotions, hopes, and fears, and their stories, passed from generation to generation, helped people understand joy, sorrow, morality, and destiny. The Olympian family became timeless, their tales carved into the imagination of humankind. After the gods had secured their majestic home atop Mount Olympus, they turned their gaze downward toward the empty earth below, a land still waiting for its most important inhabitants, humans. Among the divine beings, one figure stood apart in his compassion for mortals: Prometheus, the thoughtful titan known for wisdom and kindness. His tale would forever intertwine with the story of mankind, explaining why human life is marked by hardship, resilience, and enduring hope. In those early days, when the earth was young and bare, Zeus gave Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus a vital task: to fill the world with living creatures. Eager but reckless, Epimetheus acted quickly. He handed out traits to the animals. Without planning, some received strength, others speed, claws, fur, or wings. But in his haste, he used up all the gifts, leaving nothing for humankind. Seeing this mistake, Prometheus took over. With patience, he shaped humans from clay and water, carefully molding each figure until it resembled the gods themselves. Fragile, yet full of promise, these first humans were formed with thought and precision. Into them, Prometheus breathed a spark of divine spirit, giving them life, awareness, and the potential for greatness despite their weakness. Still, existence was harsh for these earliest mortals. Humans were fragile at first, 36-1. They had no claws to fight with, no thick coats to shield them from the cold, and no great strength to protect themselves. 36 to 7, they trembled in the night, hiding from wild beasts, exposed to storms and darkness. 36 to 12, Prometheus watched with pity as they struggled to survive. 36 to 16, he knew they needed something powerful, a force that could change their destiny. 36 to 21, the gift they needed most was fire. 36 to 24, but fire was sacred. 36 to 26, Zeus kept it jealously guarded on Olympus, believing mortals were too weak and unworthy to wield it. 36 to 30, he feared that if humans gained fire, they would grow strong, inventive, and independent, perhaps even bold enough to rival the gods themselves. 36 to 38, so Zeus forbade it, condemning humanity to live helpless and dependent. 36 to 42, yet Prometheus could not bear to see them suffer. 36 to 46, one silent night he climbed the heights of Olympus, careful to avoid the watchful eyes of the divine. 36 to 51, from the sacred hearth he stole a single glowing ember, hiding it safely within the hollow stem of a fennel stalk. 36 to 57, carrying it back to the mortal world, he offered it as a gift. 37 to 1, when humans first saw fire, they gazed in awe. 37 to 5, the warm, flickering flame gave them light in the darkness, protection from beasts, and comfort against the cold. 37 to 11, it cooked their food, hardened their tools, and inspired them to build, create, and dream. 37 to 16, fire became the beating heart of their new civilization. 37 to 20, but when Zeus discovered the theft, his fury was boundless. 37 to 24, as punishment, he condemned Prometheus to a cruel fate. 37 to 28, the Titan was chained to a desolate mountain in the Caucasus, where each day a mighty eagle descended to feast upon his liver. Each night his body healed, only for the torment to begin again. Though his suffering was endless, Prometheus endured it with courage and resolve, forever remembered as a symbol of sacrifice, defiance, and compassion. Still, Zeus's vengeance was not complete. He wanted mortals to remember their frailty, to understand that even with fire they were never beyond the gods' power. He devised a cunning plan. Zeus ordered Hephaestus, the master craftsman, to shape from clay the first mortal woman. Her name was Pandora. She was breathtakingly beautiful, graceful, and impossible to resist. The gods each gave her gifts. Aphrodite granted charm, Hermes wit, Athena wisdom and skill. But Zeus gave her something darker, a sealed jar, heavy with hidden sorrows. Pandora was presented to Epimetheus, who, despite Prometheus's warnings, accepted her gladly as his bride. In time, her curiosity grew unbearable. She opened the mysterious jar, and in an instant, countless evils poured forth: sickness, grief, envy, war, and despair. These troubles spread swiftly across the earth, forever changing the fate of humankind. Horrified, Pandora slammed the lid shut, but one thing remained inside: hope. Though humans would now endure hardship and sorrow, hope lingered, offering them resilience and comfort in even the darkest hours. With Pandora's act, mortal life took a new course. Humanity entered a succession of ages, each reflecting how mortals lived and how they related to the gods. These eras revealed the highs and lows of human nature, harmony and strife, greatness and downfall. The first was the Golden Age, a time of peace and perfection. Under the gentle reign of Cronus, humans lived free of pain and fear. The land yielded abundance. On its own fruit hung heavy from trees. Rivers ran clear, and the earth offered its riches freely. People never knew hunger, labor, or sorrow. Death was not cruel but came softly, as a gentle sleep. Those who passed became guardian spirits, unseen but watchful, guiding and protecting the generations to come. But no age lasts forever. The Golden Age faded, giving way to the Silver Age. With Zeus now enthroned as ruler of Olympus, humanity began to change. They lived longer than before, yet their hearts grew careless and ungrateful. They neglected sacrifices and disrespected the gods who had once blessed them so generously. Their lives, though still comfortable, became marked by selfishness and disregard. Disappointed and angered by their arrogance, Zeus looked upon mortals with growing disfavor. Zeus ended the Silver Age abruptly, reminding humanity of the importance of gratitude. Though the souls of this era became honored spirits, they were always regarded as lesser than their Golden Age predecessors. Their legacy was marked by forgetfulness and disregard, a lesson etched in history about the consequences of ignoring divine generosity. From this disappointment came the Bronze Age, a time defined by war, aggression, and the pursuit of strength. Humans learned to forge bronze into weapons and armor, yet instead of using these gifts wisely, they turned them toward endless conflict. Violence dominated the land, compassion was scarce, and power became the measure of worth. Societies built walls and armies, constantly clashing for dominance. Their obsession with strength ultimately led to destruction as humans fell victim to their own unrelenting aggression. Unlike the previous ages, these souls left no lasting legacy of wisdom or protection, only the stark warning of unchecked violence. Then came the legendary Age of Heroes, a period defined by courage, bravery, and extraordinary deeds. Mortals rose to fame through their remarkable feats. Heroes like Hercules, who completed 12 impossible labors, and Achilles, whose valor shaped the Trojan War, became immortalized in myth. Perseus defeated Medusa to save kingdoms, while Odysseus embarked on perilous journeys filled with monsters, magic, and adventure. These individuals did more than survive. They overcame immense challenges, faced down powerful foes, and completed quests that inspired generations. Many of these heroes who died bravely found eternal rest in the Elysian fields, a paradise reserved for those who displayed honor and courage. There they enjoyed a blissful afterlife, remembered forever as shining examples of human potential. Finally came the Iron Age, the era in which humanity now lives. Unlike the peaceful Golden Age or the heroic Age of Heroes, life in the Iron Age is marked by struggle and hardship. People labor endlessly, often with uncertain rewards. Conflict, greed, deceit, and injustice pervade the world, challenging humanity at every turn. Yet even in this harsh age, humans persevere, holding tight to hope, the precious gift Pandora left behind. Mortals rely largely on their own resourcefulness and determination, drawing inspiration from Prometheus's daring gift of fire, which symbolizes ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. Even amid difficulty, humans continue striving to improve, innovate, and uphold justice and compassion. Together, these 5 ages form a rich, interconnected story of humanity's journey, highlighting both our potential and our flaws. Prometheus's courage and defiance remind us of human ingenuity and the determination to change our destiny, while Pandora's tale reflects the complexity of human nature, curiosity, and the ever-present tension between hardship and hope. Each age offers a lesson. The Golden Age teaches the value of harmony, kindness, and simplicity. The Silver Age warns against arrogance, ingratitude, and neglect toward those who help us. The Bronze Age stands as a warning, showing the dangers of violence, ambition, and unchecked aggression. The Age of Heroes inspires courage, valor, and the pursuit of greatness, proving that individuals can rise to extraordinary heights through bravery and honor. The Iron Age reflects the realities of human life, struggle, complexity, and moral ambiguity, yet also resilience, creativity, and hope. Long after Zeus and his siblings settled on Olympus, the world below began to fill with humans, animals, and strange, mysterious creatures. But Zeus soon noticed that humanity was becoming greedy, cruel, and disrespectful to the gods. Enraged, he decided to cleanse the earth with a great flood, yet he did not wish to destroy all life. Two virtuous people remained, Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha, who honored the gods and treated others with kindness. Deucalion was the son of Prometheus, the clever titan who shaped humans from clay and gifted them with fire. Pyrrha was the gentle daughter of Epimetheus and Pandora, whose curiosity once unleashed troubles into the world. Despite their complex lineage, Deucalion and Pyrrha were honest, humble, and deeply devoted to the gods, making them the perfect survivors. From his lonely mountaintop, Prometheus watched the darkening sky, sensing Zeus's wrath. Determined to save his son, he secretly warned Deucalion, urging him to prepare immediately. Trusting his father, Deucalion set to work, building a massive wooden chest, more than a mere boat, strong, tightly sealed, and designed to survive the coming flood. Tirelessly he labored, knowing this vessel was their only hope. Soon storm clouds swallowed the sky. Thunder cracked, lightning flashed, and rain began pouring without end. Rivers overflowed, lakes burst, and the oceans rose, swallowing towns, forests, and even the tallest mountains. No matter where people fled, there was no safety. Only Deucalion and Pyrrha remained, secured within their wooden chest, riding atop the endless, storm-tossed sea. After 9 long days, the rain eased, and the floodwaters slowly receded. Their chests came to rest atop Mount Parnassus. Stepping out, Deucalion and Pyrrha surveyed the world in sorrow. The land was silent, blanketed in mud and debris, and they realized they were the last humans alive. Overwhelmed with grief and uncertainty, they knew they could not restore humanity alone. Together, they descended the mountain to the temple of Themis, the goddess of justice and prophecy. Kneeling at her altar, they begged for guidance on how to repopulate the empty earth. Themis, moved by their devotion, spoke cryptically, "Throw behind you the bones of your mother." At first they were horrified, unable to imagine disturbing their mother's bones. Confused, they sat in silence, pondering the strange words. Suddenly, Deucalion's eyes brightened. He realized the goddess had given them a riddle. The mother Themis referred to wasn't their human mothers, but Mother Earth herself. The bones were not real bones, but stones scattered across the mud and debris left by the flood. Filled with relief and hope, Deucalion and Pyrrha rose and began carefully gathering stones from the ground. With quiet reverence, they took turns tossing the stones gently behind their backs, following the goddess's strange instructions. As each stone landed, something remarkable happened. The cold, lifeless rock began to shift, change, and warm, slowly transforming into living human forms. Stones thrown by Deucalion became strong, sturdy men, while those tossed by Pyrrha became gentle, nurturing women. Soon a whole new generation of humans stood before them, blinking in wonder at the reborn world. Deucalion and Pyrrha assumed the role of wise elders and guides, teaching these new humans kindness, respect, and humility. Under their careful guidance, villages, farms, and families once again flourished, restoring life to the emptied lands. Over time, these stone-born humans spread, creating towns, cities, and eventually entire civilizations, always carrying forward the lessons of humility and virtue learned after the flood. As humanity prospered, mysterious and wondrous creatures also emerged across the lands and seas. Some were friendly, others dangerous, each adding both marvel and peril to the human world. Among these were the Cyclopes, enormous beings distinguished by a single massive eye in the center of their foreheads. Not all Cyclopes were alike. Some were brilliant craftsmen, intelligent and skilled, forging powerful weapons for the gods. These helpful Cyclopes, Brontes, Steropus, and Argus, created Zeus's mighty lightning bolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helmet of invisibility. Working quietly beneath the earth, they aided the Olympians in maintaining order and balance. Other Cyclopes were wild and untamed, dwelling far from humans and gods in deep, dark caves within remote mountains. They tended vast flocks of sheep, fiercely defending them against intruders. The most infamous of these wild Cyclopes was Polyphemus, a colossal giant who lived alone on a remote island. Polyphemus was terrifying in size and strength, able to crush enormous boulders effortlessly. His legend became immortalized when Odysseus, returning from the Trojan War, accidentally stumbled upon his cave. The giant trapped Odysseus and his men inside, sealing the entrance with a massive stone. Desperate to escape, Odysseus cunningly blinded Polyphemus by driving a sharp, burning stake into his single eye. The giant roared in agony, searching helplessly for the clever hero and his crew. Odysseus finally escaped by hiding beneath Polyphemus's sheep, tricking the furious Cyclops and making a daring getaway. Another formidable group of beings roaming the earth were the giants, born from Gaia herself. Towering and aggressive, they could shake mountains and split the earth beneath their feet. Fierce warriors, they constantly challenged both humans and gods alike. Their desire to overthrow the Olympians led to the epic war known as the Gigantomachy. In this colossal battle, gods and heroes clashed. Zeus hurled thunderbolts, Athena brandished her shield and spear, Apollo shot flaming arrows, and Hercules, the mortal hero of unparalleled bravery, fought alongside them. The giants hurled massive rocks and uprooted entire mountains, shaking the heavens and the earth alike. After a long, grueling struggle, the Olympians, aided by Hercules, finally overcame the giants. Many were imprisoned deep underground beneath volcanic mountains, where their restless struggles are said to cause earthquakes and eruptions to this day. Then there was Medusa, one of the most feared and mysterious beings of ancient Greece. Unlike many monsters, she had once been a beautiful young woman, admired for her flowing hair and graceful appearance. Her beauty, however, drew dangerous attention. 329, Poseidon, god of the sea, became obsessed with her and eventually pursued her into Athena's sacred temple, leading to a chain of events that would forever transform Medusa into the monstrous figure known throughout myth. Athena, angered by the desecration of her temple, punished Medusa, transforming her once beautiful appearance into a terrifying curse. Medusa's soft hair became a writhing mass of venomous snakes, and her gentle eyes turned into a deadly weapon. Anyone daring to meet her gaze was instantly turned to solid stone. Terrified of her own power and shunned by the world, Medusa fled to a remote place, hiding away in darkness and bitterness. Many warriors tried to defeat her but failed, each one frozen into stone, adding to the haunting collection scattered around her lonely lair. Eventually, Perseus stepped forward, determined to succeed where others had fallen. With Athena's guidance, he devised a careful plan to end Medusa's curse. Using a polished bronze shield as a mirror to avoid looking directly at her deadly eyes, Perseus approached cautiously. With precise skill, he struck the decisive blow, ending Medusa's tragic existence. Perseus then placed her severed head in a protective bag, wielding its power to defeat other enemies during his later adventures. Far away on the island of Crete lurked yet another terrifying creature, the Minotaur, a fearsome half-man, half-bull monster. The Minotaur's existence was the result of a curse on King Minos of Crete. Minos's wife Persephone fell under an enchantment, giving birth to this fearsome being. Horrified, the king turned to Daedalus, the brilliant inventor, for a solution. Daedalus constructed a massive labyrinth, an intricate maze impossible to escape, and confined the Minotaur within its twisting corridors. Each year, Minos demanded that Athens send 14 youths, 7 young men, and 7 young women as a tribute to feed the beast. For many years, this cruel ritual continued until the brave Athenian prince Theseus volunteered to face the monster himself. Upon arriving in Crete, Theseus met Ariadne, Minos' daughter, who immediately fell in love with him. She gave him a ball of thread, allowing him to trace his path through the labyrinth after confronting the Minotaur. Armed with courage and the gift of the thread, Theseus navigated the dark maze, encountered the Minotaur, and fought fiercely, finally defeating it and ending the cruel tributes. Another terrifying creature was the Hydra, a giant multi-headed serpent dwelling in the swamps near Lerna. Each of its venomous heads could strike with deadly force, and whenever one was severed, 2 more would grow in its place, making it nearly impossible to kill. This terrifying ability made the Hydra feared across the land. Hercules, as part of his 12 labors, was tasked with defeating the creature. Knowing he could not succeed alone, Hercules enlisted his clever nephew Iolaus. During the battle, Hercules would cut off a head, and Iolaus immediately cauterized the stump with a torch, preventing new heads from growing. Working together with strength and intelligence, they finally defeated the Hydra, restoring safety to the surrounding lands. The last monster to menace humanity during this age was the Chimera, a fearsome hybrid with the body and head of a lion, a goat's head emerging from its back, and a serpent for its tail. Its fiery breath caused destruction wherever it roamed, striking fear into all nearby. No warrior dared confront it until the courageous Bellerophon arrived. Aided by Athena, he tamed the winged horse Pegasus and devised a daring strategy. Riding Pegasus, Bellerophon soared above the Chimera's flames, striking repeatedly while avoiding its deadly attacks. After a fierce and grueling battle, the Chimera fell, defeated, and peace returned to the lands it had terrorized. One of the earliest famed heroes was Perseus, whose incredible story began even before his birth, with a prophecy told to his grandfather, King Achilles of Argos. The oracle at Delphi warned that Acrisius' grandson would one day cause his downfall, setting in motion events that would forever mark Perseus' life with both danger and destiny. Perseus, driven by courage and a sense of justice, swooped down on his winged sandals toward Andromeda, her eyes filled with terror as the monstrous sea creature writhed in the waves below, its massive body thrashing and crushing everything in its path. Without hesitation, Perseus assessed the situation, planning carefully to save the princess without endangering himself. Flying high above the monster, he drew Medusa's severed head from the magic bag. With careful aim, he turned the deadly gaze upon the sea creature. The monster froze instantly, its terrifying roar cut short as it was turned into solid stone, immobilized forever. Andromeda, still bound to the rocky cliff, watched in amazement as her savior defeated the monstrous threat with such speed and precision. Perseus quickly descended, untying the ropes that bound Andromeda. She stumbled forward, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude, meeting the hero's eyes with trust and admiration. The two made their way safely away from the cliffside, Perseus carrying Medusa's head carefully to prevent its power from harming anyone. Word of Perseus' heroism soon spread across the lands, and the people rejoiced, praising both his bravery and his cleverness. Andromeda, grateful for her life, grew close to Perseus, and their bond deepened as they traveled together back to her kingdom. On the way, Perseus recounted the guidance he had received from Athena and Hermes, emphasizing the importance of wisdom, preparation, and divine assistance in overcoming impossible challenges. Back in the kingdom, Andromeda's parents, relieved and grateful, welcomed Perseus with open arms. Their joy was immense, for the kingdom had been saved from certain destruction by the sea monster, and their daughter's life preserved. In recognition of his bravery and resourcefulness, Perseus was honored as a hero, his deeds celebrated through songs, stories, and statues that would inspire generations to come. Yet Perseus's adventures were far from over. Alongside Andromeda, he continued to face challenges, monsters, and treacherous journeys, relying on a combination of courage, intelligence, and divine guidance. Through these trials, he proved that heroism was not just a matter of strength, but also of cleverness, determination, and the willingness to act when others faltered. In time, Perseus and Andromeda married, uniting not only in love but also in their shared experiences of courage and resilience. Their descendants carried forward the legacy of bravery, intelligence, and virtue, intertwining human lives with the ongoing stories of gods, monsters, and heroes. Through these tales, humanity learned that even the most impossible challenges could be overcome with careful planning, courage, and guidance from forces greater than themselves. Perseus' story became a beacon, showing mortals that heroes could rise from humble beginnings, confront the most fearsome creatures, and emerge victorious, shaping the world and inspiring hope for generations to come. Thus, the age of heroes continued, where mortals and divine beings interacted in a world full of both wonder and danger, teaching lessons of bravery, cleverness, and compassion that would echo across the ages. And in every retelling, the names of Perseus and Andromeda stood as a reminder of the extraordinary potential of humans when aided by courage, wisdom, and a touch of divine favor. Heracles, destined for greatness even before birth, faced a life of extraordinary challenges. Hera, angry at Zeus's infidelity, sought to make his life as difficult as possible, sending serpents to kill him while he still lay in his cradle. Yet, even as a baby, Heracles' incredible strength shone through, and he strangled the deadly serpents with his bare hands, surviving Hera's wrath. As he grew, Heracles became renowned for his unmatched power, courage, and cleverness. Yet his life was not without hardship. Hera's continued interference caused Heracles great suffering, driving him temporarily mad and leading him to commit acts he would later regret deeply. Seeking to atone for these deeds, Heracles willingly accepted a series of 12 labors, tasks so dangerous and impossible that no ordinary mortal could complete them. His first labor was to slay the Nemean lion, a fearsome beast with impenetrable golden fur. Heracles wrestled the lion barehanded, eventually strangling it with his immense strength. He then wore its hide as impenetrable armor, a symbol of his triumph over seemingly unbeatable foes. Next, he faced the Lernaean Hydra, a monstrous serpent with multiple heads that regrew whenever one was severed. With his nephew Iolaus at his side, Heracles used fire to cauterize each wound, preventing the heads from multiplying, finally defeating the beast. He captured the golden hind of Artemis, a swift and sacred deer, without harming it, showing his ability to combine cunning with respect for the divine. He also tamed the Erymanthean boar, a massive and dangerous beast, bringing it alive to King Eurystheus as proof of his success. Heracles cleared the Augean stables in a single day, cleverly diverting rivers to wash away years of filth, demonstrating his intelligence and problem-solving skills alongside his brute strength. He captured the fierce Stymphalian birds, drove away the Cretan bull, and brought the beautiful mares of Diomedes under control, facing each challenge with determination and courage. Perhaps his most daring labors involved traveling to distant lands, fetching the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons, and securing the cattle of the monstrous Geryon across the far edges of the known world. He also retrieved golden apples from the garden of the Hesperids, cleverly enlisting Atlas to assist, yet completing the task with his own strength and wit. Finally, he descended into the underworld itself to capture Cerberus, the three-headed guardian of Hades, demonstrating his bravery and ability to confront even death itself. Each labor tested not only his strength but his patience, intelligence, and moral character, shaping him into the greatest hero of Greek legend. Heracles' adventures continued beyond the 12 labors. Too, he undertook countless journeys, fought monsters and tyrants, and aided kings and cities in need. Throughout his life, he struggled with his own human flaws, yet always strove to act with honor, courage, and justice. In the end, Heracles' story became a symbol of resilience and perseverance, showing that greatness is forged not only through strength, but through endurance, wisdom, and the willingness to face impossible challenges. Mortals and gods alike admired him, and his legacy endured, immortalized in tales, temples, and works of art, inspiring generations to confront their own trials with courage and ingenuity. Thus, the age of heroes flourished, where mortals rose to confront monsters, defy the impossible, and shape the world through their deeds, forever bridging the realms of gods and humans. Courage and compassion, strength and wisdom. The Trojan War began when Paris, Prince of Troy, was asked to judge a divine contest between three goddesses, Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, over who was the fairest. Each goddess offered him a tempting gift. Hera promised power, Athena offered wisdom and skill in battle, but Aphrodite pledged the love of the most beautiful mortal woman in the world, Helen of Sparta. Enchanted by Aphrodite's promise, Paris awarded her the golden prize, unknowingly setting in motion events that would bring disaster to his city. Helen, already married to Menelaus, king of Sparta, was spirited away to Troy, sparking outrage throughout Greece. Kings, warriors, and heroes from across the Aegean united under Agamemnon, Menelaus's brother, raising a massive army to sail to Troy and demand her return. This marked the beginning of a conflict filled with heroism, divine intervention, and epic battles that would last 10 long years. The Greek forces included legendary warriors like Achilles, whose strength and skill in battle were unmatched, and Odysseus, famed for his cunning and clever strategies. On the Trojan side stood Hector, prince and champion of Troy, whose bravery and honor earned him deep respect from both allies and enemies. Gods and goddesses took sides as well, intervening constantly. Athena and Hera favored the Greeks, while Aphrodite and Apollo aided the Trojans, weaving a tapestry of divine influence into mortal affairs. The war raged across plains, rivers, and the walls of Troy, marked by spectacular duels, heroic deeds, and devastating losses. Achilles' rage following the death of his close friend Patroclus became legendary, leading to the slaying of Hector in a climactic duel that would shape the fates of men and gods alike. Yet even in triumph, the Greek heroes faced trials as fate, honor, and the gods' whims dictated the ebb and flow of victory. Finally, The cunning plan of Odysseus brought the war to its end. Conceiving the idea of the massive wooden horse, he lured the Trojans into bringing it within their city walls, believing it to be a gift of peace. Greek warriors hid inside, and under the cover of night, emerged to open the gates for the waiting army, leading to Troy's ultimate downfall. The city was destroyed, its people scattered or slain, and the war that had defined a generation of heroes came to a tragic but decisive conclusion. In the aftermath, the surviving heroes faced their own journeys. Odysseus embarked on a decade-long voyage home, facing monsters, temptations, and divine obstacles, ultimately returning to Ithaca only after countless trials. Achilles' legacy was remembered in song and story, his bravery immortalized, though his life had ended prematurely. Helen returned to Sparta, her story forever entwined with war, love, and the consequences of divine influence on mortal lives. The Trojan War became the pinnacle of heroic storytelling in Greek myth. Its tales captured human courage, cunning, loyalty, and tragedy, showing how ambition, love, and the whims of gods could alter the fates of men and nations. Generations would remember and retell these epic adventures, linking the deeds of mortals with the power and intrigue of the divine, preserving a world where heroism, sacrifice, and destiny intersected on the grandest of scales. The war dragged on, with gods constantly intervening in mortal affairs. Athena and Hera aided the Greeks, guiding their strategies and bolstering their courage, while Aphrodite, Ares, and Apollo lent their support to the Trojans, providing protection, inspiration, and sometimes divine mischief. Battles shook the plains outside Troy as heroes clashed with epic force, and the fate of countless lives hung in the balance. Eventually, tragedy struck when Achilles' close companion Patroclus, donning the hero's armor to inspire the Greek soldiers, was slain by Hector. Enraged and heartbroken, Achilles returned to the battlefield with unstoppable fury. The climactic duel between Achilles and Hector became legendary, echoing across generations as the ultimate contest of strength, skill, and honor. In the end, Hector fell to Achilles' sword, and the Trojan prince's body was dishonored, igniting grief and anger throughout Troy. Despite Hector's death, Troy did not immediately fall. The city's walls and the courage of its remaining warriors held back the Greeks, even as the gods continued to shape the outcome of the siege. Odysseus, ever clever and cunning, conceived a plan that would finally end the long war, the infamous wooden horse. The Greeks built a massive hollow horse as a supposed offering of peace and left it outside the gates of Troy, hiding their bravest soldiers inside. Believing the Greeks had retreated, the Trojans brought the horse into their city as a trophy. That night, the hidden warriors emerged, opening the gates to the returning Greek army. Chaos erupted as the city was overrun, its defenders slaughtered or captured, and Troy fell in flames. Helen was returned to Menelaus. The Greek kings reclaimed their honor, and the epic conflict finally reached its tragic conclusion. Even after the war, the heroes' journeys continued. Odysseus faced a perilous voyage home, encountering monsters, temptations, and the wrath of Poseidon, eventually returning to Ithaca after 10 arduous years. Achilles' story, though cut short by his death, inspired generations, teaching lessons about courage, pride, and the consequences of anger. The Trojan War became the ultimate epic, intertwining human bravery, divine influence, love, and vengeance into a narrative that would echo through all of Greek storytelling. The tales of Troy reminded humanity that fate, honor, and the choices of mortals could alter the world, and that even the mightiest heroes were guided or hindered by the gods. From the battlefield to the courts of Olympus, the war showed that love and ambition could ignite both creation and destruction. The stories of Achilles, Hector, Odysseus, and Helen lived on in song and memory, shaping the morals, courage, and imagination of every generation that followed. Odysseus and his men escaped Polyphemus's cave by clinging to the undersides of the giant sheep, carefully avoiding detection as the blinded Cyclops let them pass. Yet their cleverness had consequences. Polyphemus called upon his father Poseidon, the god of the seas, cursing Odysseus and vowing to make his voyage home long and perilous. From that moment, the hero's journey became a test of endurance, wit, and resilience as the wrath of a god loomed over every wave. Next, Odysseus and his crew faced the terrifying island of the Laestrygonians, a tribe of enormous cannibalistic giants. The monstrous beings hurled massive boulders from the cliffs, sinking ships and scattering the remaining crew. Only Odysseus' swift thinking and the protection of Athena allowed a few of the ships to escape, the survivors continuing their arduous journey across stormy seas. On the enchanting island of Circe, the crew encountered a powerful sorceress who transformed many of Odysseus's men into pigs. With guidance from Hermes, Odysseus resisted Circe's magic and persuaded her to restore his companions to human form. For a year, they lived under her protection, learning valuable lessons about patience, strategy, and the importance of respecting divine power. After leaving Circe, Odysseus approached the perilous waters of the Sirens, whose irresistible songs lured sailors to their doom. Following careful advice from Circe, he sealed his men's ears with beeswax and tied himself to the mast, listening to their haunting melodies without succumbing. Safely past the Sirens, the ship navigated between the deadly monsters Scylla and Charybdis, avoiding their deadly reach with both courage and cunning. Odysseus's trials continued on the sunlit island of Helios, where his crew, despite repeated warnings, slaughtered the sacred cattle of the sun god. As punishment, Zeus unleashed a mighty storm, destroying their ship and drowning all but Odysseus. Alone, he drifted across the sea for days, eventually reaching the distant island of Ogygia, home to the nymph Calypso, who kept him there for many years, offering immortality and comfort if he would stay. Despite her charms, Odysseus longed for home and his family, enduring Calypso's enchantments with steadfast resolve. Guided by the gods and his unyielding will, he finally built a raft and set sail once more, surviving storms, shipwrecks, and the treacherous whims of Poseidon. Eventually, he reached the shores of Ithaca, returning in disguise to assess the state of his kingdom, overrun with suitors vying for his wife Penelope's hand. With careful planning and the skill of a master strategist, Odysseus reclaimed his palace. Bow in hand, he struck down the arrogant suitors one by one, revealing his identity and restoring order to Ithaca. Finally reunited with Penelope and his son Telemachus, he restored peace to his household and his kingdom, proving that intelligence, courage, and patience could triumph over overwhelming odds. Odysseus's journey, filled with monsters, gods, enchantments, and relentless challenges, became the ultimate story of perseverance, ingenuity, and the human desire to return home against all odds. His tale, alongside those of other heroes like Perseus, Theseus, and Hercules, continued to inspire generations, showing that even in a world shaped by divine power and mortal conflict, cleverness, bravery, and virtue could prevail. After securing the safety of his crew, Odysseus stayed on Circe's island for a year, recovering from the hardships of the sea and restoring the strength of his companions. When it was time to depart, Circe provided guidance and warnings for the perils ahead, speaking of the challenges that would test not only their courage, but also their wits and loyalty. The next journey led Odysseus to the underworld, where he sought the prophet Tiresias. Among the shades of the dead, he learned the future obstacles he would face, including the wrath of Poseidon, the trials of Scylla and Charybdis, and the consequences of his crew's actions on the island of Helios. Tiresias' counsel was cryptic but crucial. Only through patience, cunning, and respect for the gods could Odysseus hope to survive and return home. Following Tiresias' warnings, Odysseus guided his ship past the deadly sirens, plugging his men's ears with wax and tying himself to the mast. He listened to their haunting songs, resisting their enchanting lure while his crew rowed safely past, their minds and hearts untouched by the sirens' deadly charm. Soon after, the ship passed between Scylla, a six-headed monster who snatched sailors from their decks, and Charybdis, a deadly whirlpool capable of swallowing entire vessels. Choosing the lesser danger, Odysseus lost 6 brave men to Scylla, but saved the remainder of his crew and the ship itself, demonstrating the grim necessity of sacrifice in the face of overwhelming peril. Eventually, the exhausted crew reached the island of Helios, the sun god. Despite repeated warnings, hunger overcame judgment, and the men slaughtered the sacred cattle. Helios demanded vengeance, and Zeus unleashed a terrible storm that destroyed the ship, drowning all except Odysseus. Washed ashore, he found himself alone on Ogygia, the island of the nymph Calypso, who kept him captive for 7 years. Although she offered him immortality, Odysseus's desire to return home proved stronger than any enchantment. Finally, Zeus commanded Calypso to release him, and Odysseus set sail on a fragile raft, facing storms and the wrath of Poseidon. After a long and arduous voyage, he reached Ithaca, only to find his palace overrun with arrogant suitors seeking Penelope's hand and plotting to claim his throne. Disguised as a beggar, Odysseus carefully observed the palace, planning his return with patience, intelligence, and the aid of his loyal son Telemachus and faithful servants. Penelope devised a contest to determine her husband, setting a challenge involving Odysseus's great bow. Alone, he strung the mighty weapon and shot an arrow through 12 aligned axes, astonishing all who watched. Revealing his identity, Odysseus, with Telemachus and his loyal allies, defeated the suitors, reclaiming his home, kingdom, and family. At last, after 2 decades of perilous journeys, he reunited with Penelope, ending his long and exhausting odyssey. The tales of Odysseus, alongside the heroic deeds of Achilles, Hector, Perseus, Hercules, and Jason, became legendary. Their courage, cunning, strength, and endurance were retold across generations, inspiring countless listeners around campfires and in the halls of kings. These stories celebrated not only heroic feats, but also the enduring human qualities of perseverance, ingenuity, and devotion to family, cementing their place as the greatest legends of ancient Greece. With Odysseus restored to his rightful place, Ithaca once again flourished under his wise and just rule. The kingdom recovered from the chaos left by the suitors, and the people celebrated the return of their king. Odysseus's story, along with those of the other heroes of the Trojan War, became legend, told in song and story across Greece, inspiring generations with tales of courage, cunning, and endurance. Yet the lessons of his long journey endured. Patience and wisdom were as valuable as strength and bravery, and the bonds of family and loyalty could guide even the most tested souls safely home. The gods, though capricious and sometimes harsh, watched and influenced events, reminding mortals that their fates were intertwined with powers far greater than themselves. As peace returned to Ithaca, Odysseus shared his knowledge with his son Telemachus and the people, teaching them not only the art of war and strategy, but also the virtues of patience, cleverness, and respect for the gods. The memory of the long journey of loss, danger, and survival became a story of hope and resilience, proving that even after decades of trials, a determined heart could triumph. And so, the epic age of heroes came to a close, from the flood that reshaped humanity to the adventures of Perseus, Theseus, Hercules, Jason, and finally Odysseus. The tales carried enduring truths. Bravery could inspire, cleverness could save, and honor and loyalty could restore even the most shattered of lives. These stories, passed down through the generations, formed the foundation of Greek legend, teaching that every hero, no matter their struggles, could leave a mark on the world, shaping history, inspiring courage, and reminding all that the human spirit, tested, challenged, and refined, was capable of greatness. In the quiet of Ithaca, Odysseus and Penelope lived out their days surrounded by family and friends, their story a beacon of hope, wisdom, and enduring love. The legends of the age of heroes endured, whispered around campfires, etched into memory, and carried through time, ensuring that the deeds, lessons, and sacrifices of those extraordinary lives would never be forgotten. Psyche and Eros, now united, lived in harmony among the gods on Mount Olympus. Their tale became a symbol of love's enduring power, teaching mortals and immortals alike that patience, courage, and trust could triumph over envy and hardship. The story of Psyche and Eros, alongside the epics of Odysseus, Hercules, Jason, Perseus, and the heroes of Troy, formed a tapestry of human and divine experience. Each tale carried lessons of bravery, cleverness, devotion, and the consequences of pride and jealousy. Through trials of strength, cunning, and heart, the heroes of Greece shaped the world, their deeds echoing through generations. Mortals learned from their victories and failures, understanding that courage and wisdom often walked hand in hand. Even as time passed and kingdoms rose and fell, the stories of these heroes endured. Around fires, in palaces, and among scholars, their adventures were recounted, ensuring that the legacy of courage, cleverness, and love would never fade. Thus, the age of Greek heroes, from the flood that reshaped humanity to the odysseys of gods and mortals alike, left an everlasting mark on the world. The tales of perseverance, honor, and love, whether through the labors of Heracles, the voyages of Odysseus, or the trials of Psyche, remain timeless, inspiring all who heard them. And so the legends of Greece lived on, a shining testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit and the eternal lessons of the gods, heroes, and mortals who walked the ancient world. From courage to cunning, from love to loyalty, these stories reminded all that greatness is forged through trials, and that the bonds of family, friends, and love can overcome even the most daunting challenges. Through storms, battles, and impossible quests, the heroes and heroines of Greek legend endure forever in memory and in story, teaching each new generation that the power of heart, mind, and spirit can transcend even the most formidable obstacles. And with that, the epic age of heroes and gods drew to a close, leaving the world richer with tales of adventure, wisdom, and love, forever cherished and retold in the hearts of mortals. Helen's departure with Paris set the stage for tragedy across Greece. Her abduction, or some say elopement, infuriated Menelaus, king of Sparta, who summoned his brother Agamemnon, ruler of Mycenae, and together they rallied the Greek kingdoms to reclaim her. Thousands of warriors, each with their own stories of bravery and cunning, set sail for Troy, igniting a conflict that would last a decade. Among the Greek heroes were Achilles, nearly invincible thanks to his mother's dipping him in the river Styx; Odysseus, famed for his cleverness; Ajax, unmatched in strength; and Diomedes, whose courage struck fear into Trojan hearts. On the other side, Hector, noble prince of Troy, led the defense with loyalty and honor, embodying the courage of his people. The gods themselves took sides, their interference shaping the war in dramatic ways. Athena and Hera supported the Greeks, while Aphrodite, Apollo, and Ares aided Troy. Even Zeus watched with conflicted concern, knowing that fate had already marked the course of events. The war brought moments of heroism, tragedy, and heartbreak. Patroclus, Achilles' beloved friend, fell to Hector's hand, prompting Achilles' devastating return to the battlefield. Hector himself was eventually slain, his body dishonored before being returned to Troy through the pleas of his grieving father, King Priam. Finally, the Greeks achieved victory through cunning rather than brute force. Odysseus devised the plan of the wooden horse, a ruse that allowed elite warriors to infiltrate Troy, opening the gates to the waiting Greek army. The city fell, its heroes slain, and its people scattered. Helen returned to Menelaus, while the survivors of Troy fled or were captured. Yet even with Troy destroyed, the gods' wrath was not finished. Fierce storms scattered the Greek fleet, and many heroes faced perilous journeys home. Among them, Odysseus endured years of trials, confronting monsters, enchantresses, and gods' caprices before finally returning to Ithaca to reclaim his kingdom and reunite with Penelope. Thus, love, both its power and its peril, continued to shape the destinies of mortals and gods alike. From the tragic devotion of Orpheus and Eurydice to the destructive passion of Helen and Paris, the lessons of desire, loyalty, and fate echoed across generations, woven into the eternal tapestry of Greek legend. The tragic fate of Pyramus and Thisbe became immortalized in legend. Their love, passionate yet forbidden, ended not in union but in sorrow, leaving a lasting symbol of devotion and the dangers of misunderstanding. The once white mulberries near their meeting tree turned red from their blood, a vivid reminder of how love, when caught between fear, pride, and circumstance, can become both beautiful and devastating. Stories like these of Helen and Paris, Orpheus and Eurydice, Psyche and Eros, Pyramus and Thisbe show that love in Greek myth is never simple. It can inspire heroism and courage, yet also bring heartache, chaos, and even death. The gods themselves often meddle, testing the mortal's loyalty, passion, and endurance, ensuring that love is never free from trials. From these tales, one sees a pattern. Love in myth is entwined with fate. True devotion is tested, choices carry consequences, and the strength of the heart is measured not by its triumphs alone, but also by its endurance through suffering. Some couples are rewarded with eternal union, as Psyche and Eros were, while others are separated by circumstances beyond their control. as with Orpheus and Eurydice or Pyramus and Thisbe. These stories endure because they reflect the human experience, the joy, the pain, and the unyielding hope that love, though often fleeting or fragile, remains one of the most powerful forces in the world. They remind generations that courage, sacrifice, and trust are as necessary in matters of the heart as in the battlefield, and that love, in all its forms, shapes destiny in ways both wondrous and tragic. Charon, often mistaken in name as Charon, was indeed the grim ferryman, a shadowy sentinel of the river Styx. He transported souls across the dark waters to the deeper regions of the underworld, unyielding and silent, taking no bribes beyond the coin traditionally placed by the living. Those unable to pay were doomed to linger on the banks, wandering in eternal limbo, neither fully at peace nor able to return to the world above. Beyond the river, the underworld branched into many realms, each reflecting the deeds and lives of those who entered. Tartarus, the lowest pit, was a place of punishment, where the cruelest souls endured eternal torment, their sufferings echoing through the dark chasms. In contrast, the Elysian fields offered peace and joy to the virtuous, a sunlit paradise of soft meadows, gentle breezes, and eternal rest. Between these extremes lay the asphodel meadows, where ordinary souls wandered quietly, their existence neither joyous nor torturous, a somber reflection of lives lived without great virtue or vice. Hades himself presided over all, never swayed by pity or malice, but ensuring balance and fairness. Though feared, he was respected even among the gods, for he upheld the natural order of life and death. Persephone's presence softened this order, her gentle care comforting those who arrived and easing the sorrow of the lost. Many mortals who journeyed to the underworld returned with tales of its mysteries, though few survived the experience. Heroes like Orpheus, Hercules, and Odysseus ventured into Hades' realm, guided by courage, cleverness, or divine favor, facing dangers both tangible and spiritual. Orpheus' music charmed Cerberus and moved Hades himself. Heracles' strength allowed him to wrestle the three-headed guard dog into submission. Odysseus learned warnings of doom and divine wrath from the spirits of the dead. These tales made clear that the underworld was not just a place of fear, but a realm of consequence, reflection, and sometimes redemption. In essence, the underworld reflected the Greeks' understanding of life itself. Every action carried weight, and every soul, mortal or divine, would eventually meet its due. Hades' silent authority, Persephone's gentle presence, the shadowed rivers, and the ferryman's unwavering vigilance together painted a world where death was not an end to be feared, but a journey to be respected, a mysterious, eternal landscape lying just beneath the mortal realm. Baucis and Philemon, sometimes called Baucis and Philemon in older texts, were beloved for their unwavering kindness, a rare treasure in a world often ruled by selfishness and greed. One day, two weary travelers appeared at their village, wandering from home to home, seeking shelter for the night. Most villagers turned them away, hiding behind pride, fear, or suspicion. But Baucis and Philemon welcomed them with open hearts. They offered the strangers what little they had, a humble meal of bread and cheese, a small pitcher of wine, and a place to rest under their roof. What the couple did not know was that these travelers were no ordinary mortals. They were Zeus and Hermes in disguise, sent to test humanity. The gods moved from house to house, seeking signs of goodness, and found only cruelty and neglect until they reached Bacchus and Philemon, Impressed by their generosity and humility, Zeus and Hermes revealed their divine identities. The couple trembled with awe and fear, yet the gods reassured them with warmth, declaring that their virtue would not go unrewarded. As a blessing, the gods transformed their modest home into a magnificent temple, adorned with gleaming marble, gold, and fragrant flowers. They promised that Baucis and Philemon would live out their days together in happiness, spared from sorrow or loss. When their time on earth finally ended, the gods transformed them into intertwining trees, an oak and a linden, so that even in death they would remain together, their love and devotion eternal. Travelers who passed by the temple were reminded of their story, learning that true wealth lies not in gold or power, but in the quiet acts of kindness and the hearts that give freely without expectation. Baucis and Philemon's tale carries a gentle moral, a contrast to the grand heroics and tragedies of other myths. It whispers that humility, generosity, and simple goodness can shine as brightly as the deeds of the mightiest warriors, and that the gods themselves notice the quiet virtues of mortals. Midas, blinded by greed and dazzled by visions of endless wealth, insisted on his wish. Dionysus, seeing the king's stubborn desire, nodded and granted it, warning him gently that every gift carries both blessing and burden. At first Midas was thrilled. He touched a goblet of wine and it transformed into solid gold. He reached for a loaf of bread and it shimmered instantly with a brilliant golden sheen. Flowers, furniture, coins, everything he touched became solid gold. His palace glittered like the sun, a monument to his insatiable desire. But soon the joy of his new power began to fade. When he tried to eat, his food turned to gold the moment he touched it. When he hugged his beloved daughter in delight, her warm body turned cold and rigid, solid gold. Panic and sorrow filled his heart. The golden touch, once a symbol of his power, became a curse, leaving him lonely and desperate. Midas, realizing the folly of his greed, fell to his knees and begged Dionysus for mercy. "Please take back this gift," he cried, "and restore what I have lost. I have learned that some treasures are far more precious than gold." Dionysus, seeing the sincerity and remorse in Midas's heart, relented. He instructed the king to bathe in the river Pactolus. As Midas entered the water, the golden touch flowed from his body into the river, turning the sands of Pactolus to gold, a lasting reminder of his folly. Midas embraced his daughter, feeling her warmth and life again, and understood a profound truth. Wealth is meaningless without love, family, and the simple joys of life. From that day forward, Midas ruled wisely, valuing kindness, generosity, and the treasures that truly matter over the glitter of gold. While Chiron had always been wise and immortal, his compassion would eventually lead to a painful fate. Hercules, performing one of his famous 12 labors, was tasked with capturing the Erymanthian boar, a massive, terrifying creature that terrorized the countryside. During the hunt, Hercules fought fiercely, eventually ensnaring the boar in nets. But in another labor, Heracles was ordered to slay the Lernaean Hydra, a monstrous serpent with many heads, one of which was mortal. In the struggle against the Hydra, Heracles dipped his arrows into the creature's deadly venom to make them lethally effective. These arrows would later play a crucial role in Chiron's story. Years later, a tragic accident occurred. Heracles, traveling through Thessaly, accidentally struck Chiron with one of these poisoned arrows. Chiron, immortal and unable to die by natural causes, suffered excruciating pain. No medicine, no healing arts, Even his vast knowledge of medicine could free him from the arrow's venom. The wound festered endlessly, causing him agony, yet he could not pass away. Chiron, ever wise and selfless, saw an opportunity to relieve both his suffering and help others. Prometheus, the Titan who had gifted fire to humanity, had been condemned to eternal torment by Zeus, chained to a rock while an eagle devoured his liver daily. Chiron proposed a solution to the gods. He would willingly relinquish his immortality, taking Prometheus's place if Zeus allowed Prometheus to be freed. Moved by Chiron's noble sacrifice, Zeus agreed. Chiron surrendered his immortality, and in doing so, the poison's grip finally ended his life. But unlike most mortals, Chiron's spirit was honored and immortalized among the stars. Zeus placed him among the constellations, the centaur forever shining as Sagittarius, a reminder of wisdom, selflessness, and the nobility of a teacher willing to suffer for others. Chiron's story, though tragic, left a lasting legacy. He remained a symbol of knowledge, patience, and compassion, a figure whose influence shaped heroes, kings, and even the world of gods and mortals alike. Narcissus' vanity and pride, however, did not go unnoticed by the gods. Nemesis, the goddess of retribution, watched his arrogance with growing displeasure. She decided that the young man needed a lesson, one that would teach him the cruel weight of obsession with one's own image. One bright morning, while Narcissus wandered near a still, crystalline pool of water in a quiet forest glade, he bent down to drink. As he gazed into the water, he saw his own reflection, so flawless and captivating that he was immediately entranced. The image stared back at him, silent yet impossibly alive, and Narcissus felt a strange, unshakable longing he had never known. Unable to pull himself away, he leaned closer, trying to touch the reflection, yet each attempt only rippled the water, breaking the perfect image. Hours passed, then days, and Narcissus became consumed entirely by his own reflection, forgetting to eat, drink, or sleep. The world outside the pool faded, leaving only the reflection and his unending desire to possess it. Echo, watching silently from the forest, remained a distant witness to the tragedy. Though she could never speak to him, she felt the sorrow of his fate, understanding too late that Narcissus' beauty, so admired by all, had become his own undoing. Eventually, Narcissus realized that the object of his obsession could never return his love, for it was merely a reflection, a fleeting illusion. Overcome with despair, he remained by the pool until life slowly drained from him. When he finally died, the gods, moved by the poignancy of his story, transformed him into a delicate flower that still grows near streams and quiet pools, bearing his name as a reminder of the dangers of vanity and unrequited desire. Thus, the tales of Echo and Narcissus remain intertwined, one voice fading into the air, the other fixed in eternal reflection, a bittersweet echo of love, longing, and the perilous pride of the heart. They speak to the full range of human experience, love and loss, pride and humility, courage and fear, cleverness and folly. Through these myths, we see ourselves mirrored, our desires, our mistakes, our hopes, and our dreams. They remind us that even the greatest heroes are not infallible, and even the humblest acts of kindness can echo across time. The gods may wield immense power, and monsters may lurk in the shadows, but at their hearts, these tales are about choices, consequences, and the emotions that define us. Odysseus's cleverness teaches patience and resilience. Psyche's devotion reminds us of the rewards of trust and perseverance. Narcissus warns against vanity and self-absorption, while Echo's sorrow shows the quiet pain of unrequited love. Even Chiron's sacrifice and Midas's regret highlight that wisdom often comes through experience, humility, and reflection. These myths endure not merely because they thrill us with adventure, magic, or drama, but because they give shape to life's mysteries. They turn abstract ideas into vivid stories, making concepts like justice, loyalty, and fate tangible. They whisper truths about human nature and the world we inhabit, often in ways more memorable and moving than any lesson told plainly. When we tell these stories today, we are connecting with generations of listeners who felt the same awe, fear, joy, and heartbreak. We carry forward not just the adventures of heroes, gods, and mortals, but the wisdom embedded in each tale, the understanding that life is filled with challenges, that our choices matter, and that love, courage, and kindness remain enduring virtues. So, as we close this journey through the vast and vibrant world of Greek mythology, we see that these ancient stories are much more than entertainment. They are mirrors, guides, and companions, offering insight into the human heart, lessons that transcend time, and reminders that even in the world of gods and monsters, the smallest acts of courage, compassion, and curiosity can leave a lasting mark on the world and on those who hear the tale. And now, beneath the quiet stars and the gentle crackle of firelight, we can pause, reflect, and carry these stories with us not as mere myths, but as living legacies of the human spirit, enduring across centuries, echoing softly in our own lives. Thanks so much for watching. We put a lot of hard work and research into creating this video just for you, and we hope you enjoyed the journey. If you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're interested in exploring the true history of America from its birth to today, check out the link in the description for our full video. And remember, we're always looking for new ideas. If you have a topic you want us to research and create a video about, drop your suggestions in the comments. We can't wait to make the next story just for you.